Okay, so all the migrations move now as it's about to move into the early summer phase. It should be worth winter fertile on there. So we can see the least impact has been on the sables that are special +1 grazing ability and all terrain, very versatile guys. They need that, so they've kept quite close together. Everybody else has had to spread out really for the grazing purposes. We can see that the llamas are spread over here, still slightly overstacked here, but there's a coal herd phase before we do resolve grazing next turn. Same for the Moracanth over here. They've exceeded their grazing limit a little bit because in the summer period, this grassland here is really counted as chaparral. So if we go further down, we can see pretty much all the other units have had to spread out to make maximum use of the grazing available to them. So really, it's going to put an end to offensive moves this year, I believe. They might squeeze a little bit something out there, but I'm not too sure. The only ones really able to do it would be the sables, but they got a sort of a very bloody nose at the Battle of the Pairing Stone, which we're calling it now, up here. Okay, let's see what the early summer brings. Okay, so we're in the early summer phase, and we've just gone through the resolve grazing. Now everybody has sufficient grazing, but you'll see now we have the grazed markers placed. So each grazed marker reduces the grazing capacity of that area by the number of counters. So this can only support one herd, but it's grazed. So therefore this area will support no herds at all next season. So we're going to have to move. The sables have a slight benefit that they get +1. That's why they're able to have 2. But this is grazed, completely grazed now. No sable will be able to use this area here at all. So they're going to have to move out. Should be okay at this end of the board. Where it's going to start getting tight are these guys that are up against each other. So we've got particularly with the Moracanth along here, they're going to have to move out. That area is now used up, move out into central Prax, or chance it in some of these other areas down here. This area will be fine. The swamp's a bit dodgy. These guys here should be okay, they've got room to move, so it'll be interesting to see how the Moracanth play this and whether any of the other players are going to try and block them in. Anyway, let's see. Okay, end of the early summer phase. And as expected, the poor weather has pretty much stopped all the aggressive action from the earlier turns. So we've had the coal herds, so we've had the coal herds to feed their tribes, everyone's achieved that. Resolve grazing, we've had the Dakafal Spirit Festival, which there was no action. The Caravan Alley was active, but no one took any action against it this turn. And they only get 2 tribal actions. So as you can see, a real change in the board around here. All these grazed areas have all been evacuated. We can see the high llamas are sort of gone centrally into this area here. With a captured herd up there. We can see the Moracanth, well, they weren't really trapped in this turn. The high llamas couldn't really do it, so they've come out into the central area here, grazing. And we can see the sables, they did have a little problem with their grazing phase, so not with their grazing phase, but the fact that they've got a reduced number of tribes at the moment, because they lost them in the battle over there, is they sent a couple of herds off to Adari, okay, which they traded them for goods. It's not going to do any harm at all in gaining their victory points, but they got a couple of goods there, 2 for those. What else happened? Okay, sorry about that, the battery went on the camera. So going to the Crypt of the Restless Spirits, the warriors moved on to their first challenge, which was the Spirit Guardians of the Tomb. Unfortunately, due to their low power, and this was a power task here, one of the warriors has been killed, so there's 1 warrior remaining. So, not looking very good actually at the moment for them. Pretty much that's what's happened this turn. So, one more turn of this year, we have the late summer phase. And let's see what happens. Here we are then, near the end of the late summer phase. Just got the migration move to do, and I'll show you what's going on. Well, against all probability, the High Llamas managed to defeat the Spirits of the Guardians. And then in the Crypt of the Restless Spirits themselves, they chose Plan 2, which was to talk to the Spirits. So they discarded a card. I think they discarded their lesser Spirit of Darkness card, but they weren't successful, but they're still remaining. if we look what's happened else on the board, the Sables are pretty sort of stuck at the moment, so they are coalescing around the lunar units here, because if they are attacked again, the lunars will help them as they're allied. They were quite keen on attacking the caravan route, but this would have upset the lunars probably, so they decided against that. So they have a little bit of shuffle around the position. The Morakanth, again a little shuffle around, and we've got the shaman has gone to Cam as well, and he's picked up another spirit, which when we do our victory point phase in a moment, we can see that the Sables have 3 spirits allied. The Morakanth now have 4, quite weak ones, but doesn't matter. And the High Llamas have 2. So obviously they sacrifice 1 on their adventure. The High Llamas are feeling very good about things. They sort of blocked off the route back into this area which the Morakanth would really like to go into. So that's problematic for them. They could still get there, but a little bit worried of being cut off, so I think they're spending their time in the chaparral at the moment, not really their favourite position. Everything seemed to be going very well for the High Llamas until they decided to raid the caravan. Okay, Caravan Alley was active this turn. They raided and they pulled out 2 caravans, so quite a well-guarded caravan. They had the Newtland Renegades, they had the High Llamas, and they had the Khan, which you can obviously see is not there at the moment. They didn't roll any runes, and a unit was randomly eliminated, and it was their Khan. So that should put a bit of a spanner in the works for the Llamas, because they were looking pretty good at the end of this first turn. So we're doing a migration move, and then we'll do the end of the turn phase, which is we're going to look at status allocation. Okay, end of the turn, status allocation. So 1 point for the tribe with the highest current power. I've already moved these tracks, so we can see the Sables get a point for that. The most native healthy herds, we look across the board, and the High Llamas, they get 2 status for that. The greatest number of allied spirits, and we say over here it's the Morakanth, because they've got 4 allied spirits. They get 1 status for that. The allied spirit with the highest spirit combat value, well, that's the Sables, because Sunhawk has a spirit combat value of 3. Greatest number of goods, I actually put these, I showed in the video, I put them on the High Llama, but of course it's the Sables that traded their herds. So they have 2 goods, so that gains them another status. Greatest number of treasures, there's no treasures available. Greatest numbers of areas occupied, and again that was the High Llamas. Then we had Oasis controlled at any point during the years, and I can't find my control markers, but I use that as a control marker. The Sables controlled that area, that Oasis, Day's Rest, back in the winter. So I can remove that now. And victorious in battle, well, there were 2 battles this turn. The Sables launched 1 here, which they were defeated in, so don't get any point for that. And there was a counter-attack, second battle, where the High Llamas came to this area, and they did, so they get another point for that. So at the end of 1611, we can see the Llamas have taken a lead. They currently have 6 status. The Sables have 4, and the Morakanth have 3. In fact, the High Llamas would be feeling a lot happy about things if it wasn't for the fact they had just lost their Khan in the raid on Caravan Alley. So, last thing in the turn is to move on to the next year, 1612, and I'll post again soon.